Derry Jenner and his sister Trish Jenner were returning home from college to visit their family during spring break. While driving through the northern Florida countryside in Trish's 1960 Chevrolet Impala, they played a game guessing the meaning of personalized license plates, like 6A4 EVR, which means sexy forever. Suddenly, after passing an RV, a mysterious driver in an old rusty truck with the license plate BETNGU tried to run them off the road. After a moment of tension, with Derry trying to convince the driver to let them pass, the truck finally overtook them. Derry tried to guess the meaning of the license plate, assuming it said, "I'm beating you." Then, the siblings began to talk about two students, Kenny and Darla, who disappeared while driving on the same road 23 years earlier. Derry dismissed the story as an urban legend created to scare teenagers about the dangers of drinking and driving. After making a stop to use the bathroom, they passed by the same van again, this time parked in front of an old abandoned church by the side of the road. A burly man was sliding what appeared to be bodies wrapped in old sheets into a large sewer pipe protruding from the ground. The driver, realizing he had been seen, chased them and managed to get them off the road before driving away. Despite Trish's objections, Derry insisted on going back to investigate, arguing that they might save someone if one of the bodies was still alive. Trish, worried, suggested looking for help and finding a phone, but Derry made her feel guilty by asking what would happen if the body were hers. Finally, Trish reluctantly agreed, although she refused to get out of the car. Upon returning to the church, they encountered a chilling scene. The place was filled with crows and jackdaws cawing ominously. Derry tried to look inside the pipe, but he couldn't see anything. He asked Trish to hold his feet while he leaned over to get a better look. Suddenly, he screamed in fright at a swarm of rats that came out of the pipe, causing Trish to let go of his legs. Derry slipped and fell down the pipe, cutting himself and gasping for breath upon landing. Upon getting up, Derry found a dying child with a huge wound on his torso. The boy tried to say something to him, but he died before he could. Derry saw piles of other lifeless bodies and, horrified, shouted to Trish that they needed to get out of there. He ordered her to go to the road and watch for the return of the truck, warning her to scream as loud as she could if she saw it. While searching for an exit, Derry discovered a massive cavern beneath the church, with hundreds of bodies sewn together covering the walls. He also found a table with a carving of a monster and some liquid chemicals, which led him to believe that the murders were part of a ritual. As he continued exploring, he discovered the bodies of an interracial couple, one of whom had their head sewn back on and a class ring from 1978. With horror, Derry realized that they were Kenny and Darla, which proved that the urban legend was true. Derry found the exit of the church and scared Trish, who mistakenly thought the truck was coming back. Trish took the wheel while Derry sat in the passenger seat, visibly traumatized and silent. Trish, worried, tried to get him to react, pointing out that they needed to stop for gas. Finally, Derry explained to her what he had seen, Kenny and Darla, and how the man had decapitated them and sewn their heads back on. When they arrived at a restaurant with a gas station, they decided to contact the police, but just at that moment, they saw the van passing by, heading back to the church. Upon entering the restaurant, Trish tried to ask the people present for help, but they all ignored her, thinking she was crazy. With Derry still paralyzed by fear, Trish tried to reason with him, insisting that they needed to call the police. Suddenly, the restaurant phone rang, and no one else seemed willing to answer. Derry picked it up, and the person on the other end first asked for his name and then said, "Have you seen the cats yet?" The voice continued, describing intimate details about Derry, such as his tattoo of a rose on his stomach and his bloodied hand. The woman warned Derry that what he had seen was not a common killer, but an ancient monster or demon. Then, she played the song Jeepers Creepers on the phone and told them that, when they heard it, they should run. Terrified, Derry cursed the woman and hung up the phone. The tension and fear took hold of the siblings, knowing that something sinister was pursuing them, something beyond anything they could have imagined. Derry and Trish were taken to the police station to be interrogated by the police. With a pale face and trembling hands, Derry tried to explain everything they had seen, including the bodies of Kenny and Darla in the abandoned church. The police, however, were skeptical. They argued that, after 23 years, the bodies should have decomposed into bones and dust, if they even existed at all. Derry, desperate to make them understand, explained that the bodies had been preserved somehow, possibly with petrified wood, and that there should be around 600 corpses in that place. Although the officers were not convinced, they tried to be understanding. They assured Derry that they were not calling him a liar, but they asked him to understand that, from their perspective, the story was too incredible to believe without concrete evidence. Meanwhile, a cafe worker approached Derry and Trish to warn them that someone had been trying to steal their car. When they went out to check, they discovered that the mysterious figure had already left, but had left the car wrecked. The waitress told them that the stranger had been smelling the clothes inside the vehicle, as if something had caught his attention. "It seemed like he liked it," she said with a shiver. Derry, increasingly worried, gathered his clothes and realized something terrifying. The stranger was following them because he knew what they had seen in the church. Worse yet, he now knew Derry's name, as he had read it on his underwear. The feeling of being hunted took hold of him. While inspecting the car, Derry found something that left him frozen, a deep mark on the door handle, as if someone had pressed it with superhuman force. He quickly called the police to examine it, hoping it would be a crucial clue. The police, although still skeptical, decided to verify Derry and Trish's story. They escorted them back to the abandoned church to investigate. However, while they were driving, they received a radio message. The church was being set on fire, and the main suspects were Derry and Trish, accused of being arsonists. To make matters worse, the coroner reported that the fingerprints found in the car did not match those of a living human being, but seemed to be from ancient skin, almost as if they belonged to someone who had been dead for decades. While the police officers were trying to process this information, something violently hit the roof of their patrol car. The stranger, the same one who had been chasing Derry and Trish, appeared out of nowhere. With quick and brutal movements, he attacked the officers. One of them was decapitated in front of Derry and Trish's horrified eyes. The monster threw the policeman's head onto Trish's car hood, causing both vehicles to stop abruptly. Trish, trembling, got out of the car and called the police, asking if they were okay. But seeing the blood on the hood, Derry shouted for her to get back in the car immediately. It was then that Trish saw the decapitated officer and, from the driver's seat of the patrol car, the stranger emerged. For the first time, they could see him clearly. His skin was grayish, his hair long and white at the sides, but bald on top. The monster picked up the policeman's head and, with a sinister smile, tore out his tongue with his teeth. Terrified, Derry and Trish got back into their car and fled at full speed. As they drove away, they saw in the rearview mirror how the monster loaded the bodies of the policeman and the decapitated head into his truck, before putting on a hat and disappearing into the darkness. They knew they were not safe, and that the monster, the creeper, would not rest until he caught them. Trish keeps driving fast, to which Derry asks her to slow down. She comes to a complete stop while Derry only asked her to slow down. They found themselves stopped at an old farmhouse. Derry and Trish discovered an elderly woman who has many, many cats. Trish begs her to call the police, but she refuses for fear of losing her cats. But she allows them to do so after Trish tells her about the murdered officer, but she asks them not to give her address. Derry doesn't like the feel of the place and asks Trish to leave and seek help elsewhere. While they were arguing, the old woman asked if there was anyone else with them. The stranger caught up with them, pretending to be the scarecrow in the garden. The woman threatens the stranger. Angry because her cats were in danger, she ran and grabbed her shotgun. She shot the man, who jumped in an inhuman way and crashed into the roof of her house. Angry, the woman hit Derry in the groin and ran towards the house. After hearing shotgun shots, it seemed like the woman was going to come out, but they saw that she was actually being held by her spine, and the man revealed himself with a smile on his face and turned out to be some kind of monster. The creeper being revealed for the first time as a monster, playing with the Jenners while they try to escape. Trish and Derry got into their car, intending to escape. With the creeper in front of them, Derry tells Trish to run him over. The creeper was able to jump over the car without suffering any damage, to their surprise. Trish then pretended that the car wouldn't move, giving the creeper the opportunity to approach them. However, she surprised him and actually hit him. The creeper crashed and collapsed on the road. Trish proceeded to run over him again and again until Derry forced her to stop. Afterwards, they see the creeper unfold his wings that were hidden in his coat in an attempt to fly. But he is too injured and his parts are stuck to the pavement. They leave, running over him once more, and arrive at the police station, where they were on the phone with their parents to come pick them up. The woman from the phone call appears and introduces herself as Giselle Gay Hartman, a woman who claimed to be a local psychic. She warned Derry and Trish that they were still in danger, and then tried to reveal the true nature of the mysterious creature. It was an ancient demon known as the Creeper, who rises every 23rd spring for 23 days to feed on parts of the human body that, when consumed, become part of its own body. He also told them that he hunts his victims through fear, and that by smelling Trish and Derry's fear, he has found something he likes. The wounded creeper drives and heads to the police station, limping as he enters the jail cells and cuts the electricity. After feeding on a prisoner to heal, he was surrounded by the police, but he killed several of them. Giselle warns them that the creeper is here and won't stop until he gets what he wants. She tells them that one of them will die, screaming in the darkness while the song Jeepers Creepers plays in the background. While the police continue to detain this intruder, Giselle tries to guide them to another exit in the station. However, they reached a dead end and Trish asks if her vision could at least have foreseen an exit. Giselle explains that she came to tell them, hoping they could change her vision. Derry then asks her who the creeper wants. Giselle doesn't answer, but her head turns towards Trish, making them believe that he wants Trish. Derry keeps getting answers from Giselle and asks her if her visions are ever wrong. However, the creeper caught up with them and Giselle made them run upstairs. The creeper approached Giselle and sniffed her, but let her go, implying that he doesn't fear her and has nothing desirable for him. The creeper finally caught up with Trish and Derry, sniffing them and even tasting them. Then he threw Trish and kept Derry. The police and the SWAT team assault and surround the creeper. He uses Derry as a shield before opening his hood with claws and letting out a deafening scream. Sergeant David Tubbs and the squad are incredulous at what they are seeing. Trish, in an effort to save her brother, asked the creeper to take her instead. Derry shouted at her not to be a hero. Trish explained that Derry was weak and that he wouldn't fight with him. The creeper really listens to her and thinks about it for a bit. However, he wasn't interested in someone who wasn't afraid of him. He flew up the side of the building, taking Derry with him into the night. In the morning, Trish asked Giselle if her dreams ever go wrong. Instead of answering, Giselle simply tells her that she is a crazy old woman and that Trish can ask anyone else. Derry's screams were then heard as a new abandoned area was shown. The creeper was working on a sewing machine. Then, Derry's dead body, naked and preserved, was shown, just like the other bodies in the House of Pain. The back of Derry's head and his eyes were removed, and the creeper looked through the eye holes and at the camera with Derry's eyes, revealing that this is what he wanted from him. The creeper looks at the camera with Derry's eyes. The creeper in this final shot is played by Derry's actor, Justin Long, to match the creeper's new eyes. A brief post-credit scene was presented, showing the creeper driving his truck quickly down the road at sunset, honking the horn. The creeper is probably continuing his hunt.